Tsundoku, the art of acquiring books and letting them pile up or linger on the shelf with the intention of reading them but have not done so yet. Or for me, the art of collecting books for a bookhouse I plan to own and run in the future, but in the meantime stacked on shelves, tables, and on anything that can hold books for research, inspiration, or for leisure reading. I am guilty of buying more books than I could possibly have time to finish reading them. And having the Big Bad Wolf Booksale every year here in Dubai feeds the book hoarder in me. These are on sale anyway, and so I always convince myself. I have never regretted buying a book though, and as low as I am at finishing reading some of the books, I am consistently returning to reading a few pages or a chapter every week. I am slowly building my curated anti-library from Talib's concept or library, and so far it is making me happy despite slowly lacking the space on where to put additional books that I still have on my wish list. Books that I randomly pick up on unplanned bookstore trips. Books that I deserve or books that deserve a place on my now full space. So here are additional books that deserve a place on my now full space. Most are for research and work. First are these books about artists that I have started collecting. These were the ones I've added to the collection on my last trip to the Big Bad Wolf. This is Gaudi, this is Matisse, and this is Bacon. Filled with short snippets and illustrations about the life of these great artists, they are easy to read and is a great reference whenever I want to learn about the life and the story behind some of the most famous masterpieces ever created. Next is this Kenton Blake and John Yeoman book, The Boy Who Sprouted Antlers. I am a huge Kenton Blake follower, and his collaboration with authors like Roald Dahl, John Yeoman, and Michael Rosen are some of my favorite picture books. This is one example of a book that I have no idea what the story is about, but since it's illustrated by a favorite illustrator and author, then it might be worth adding to my collection. Next are books illustrated by Chris Riddell, The Pied Piper of Hamelin, and A Great Big Cuddle. I am also a fan of Chris Riddell's illustrations, and I already have a collection of a few of his books, mostly from the Big Bad Wolf Booksale as well. I am specifically drawn to books of illustrators whose work I follow, and most of the time I discover books from the Big Bad Wolf Booksale I would have never known existed, like this A Great Big Cuddle book that happens to also be written by one of my favorite picture book author, Michael Rosen, who wrote the sad book illustrated by Kenton Blake. A Journey Through Art is another illustrated book that is filled with facts and history about art, and is useful for me as an illustrator to at least broaden my knowledge a bit about art. Sight, glimmer, glow, spark, flash. One of my best random pick for this book haul. I have finished reading the book while still at the book sale, but decided to buy a copy to add to my future bookhouse shelf and to admire the illustrations and the deep yet simple and subtle story about sight. The book demands to be browsed and admired every now and then when the need arises. Next on the pile is Wishing Balloons by Jonathan D. Voss. Picked up this book because of the stunning artwork painted in oil. The brushstrokes and textures on each illustration are beautiful, which make the artworks and storytelling even more magical. Also a favorite discovery for this book haul. I would probably add books by Jonathan D. Voss, specifically with his loose style of illustrations, on my wish list. So far, this is the first book I have that's illustrated by him. Another picture book I got is Little Wonder by Claire Keane. The light, shadows, colors, and the texture of the illustrations were what captivated me to add this to my pile. I am a huge fan of Charles Schulz and his characters, so I also got these two Peanuts books, the Snoopy Treasures. Aside from pages of how Snoopy evolved throughout the years, this book also includes some fun prints and memorabilia, like prints of an original drawing, notes, bookmark, and sample vintage giveaways. This small Peanuts book is a collection of comics from 1950 to 1952. It's interesting to see how the illustrations of his characters have evolved throughout the years. I have illustrated some Peanuts characters, and the shape of their faces are one of those difficult to copy because a small difference in shape or line would make them wonky and not the same as the original. Same with Hello Kitty and Calvin in Calvin and Hobbes. The last pile of 5 books are the non-picture or non-illustrated book, but nevertheless are interesting reads. First is The Library of Unrequited Love by Sophie Divry. As someone who imagines running a bookhouse one day, I have started collecting books about libraries, bookshops, and bookstores, and I found this little book may be a fun and interesting read. I'll update you once I finish the book. Second is probably a familiar book, A Man Called Ove by Fredrik Backman. I've seen the film, the Swedish version, and I found it relatable in terms of friendships and love. Since seeing the film, I've always wanted to read the book as well. I'm glad that I found this in the book sale. Third and fourth are authors and an illustrator that I have been following. Give and Take by Adam Grant and Ignore Everybody by Hugh MacLeod. I have browsed and read a few pages and looking forward to reading this. Last but not the least, another favorite. I have already started reading this while also reading another book because this one is a light and a fun read about, as the title says, Everything I Know About Life I Learned from PowerPoint, a book by Russell Davis. I work with PowerPoint all the time, more before than now, but PowerPoint still holds a special place in my creative journey. I can feel Russell Davis's love for PowerPoint while reading each paragraph so far. But it's a kind of love that is self-aware and accepts and research on the biases on such a powerful tool like PowerPoint. I'm currently reading this while also reading Tomorrow, and I am enjoying reading both. Well, that's it for my recent Big Bad Wolf Booksale book haul. Which ones are your favorite? and let me know if you also have read any of these books. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, click like, and leave a comment. Until next time!